good morning, everyone, wherever you are in Australia or possibly overseas. It may not be morning, but great to have you here. We have released a truckload of updates since our last AMA. If you don't know what AMA stands for, it's Ask Me Anything, and that's how we're going to run this today. So if a question pops up, please put it in the chat or put your hand up and we can tackle it as we go. Or what we'll do is we'll bunch them all together at the end and tackle them all at once. So depending on what they are, you may have come for file notes and you may be a recent user or adopter of Claris, and that's awesome. But today we're going to not spend too much time in file notes. We're talking more about, where Claris has shifted to and how it can give you so much more than just file notes. And it's really about streamlining document creation. So you've got a really good meeting preparation process and information and intelligence there all the way through the client journey to document creation. So today's really about educating you, hopefully inspiring you to explore some of the options that you can think about and ways you can use Claris to streamline more of the advice process and help you with your workflow. We know a lot of practices are in growth mode and thinking about ways they can streamline things without necessarily increasing their admin. That's where we want to support you. That's behind everything we do. So I want to run through some ways that you can really unlock and streamline those flows within your business, and then some tips and tricks, best practice setup tips to get the most value out of Claris, and we'll do some Q&A at the end. So yeah, please use the chat to answer any questions and we'll tackle those. So there's a couple of minor improvements that we always kind of release throughout the month. So we'll cover off on those as we go. I've got Connor on the call as well, who you've probably seen his name around. I may not have met him, but yeah, Connor's going to take over and really run you through our first section, which is all about the document creator, which is a big recent release, and he'll be taking you through that. So Connor, love you to take over now, and perhaps just in the chat, if you can just put a yes in there if you've actually used documents and you've created a document. Just want to get a sense of who's tried it so far. So if you can put that in the chat, that'd be great. Thanks, Connor.
Cool, thanks, Stuart. As Stuart kind of mentioned, documents are that kind of next stage of Claris, and we're still focusing on file notes and making sure that's all very high quality, because that's what goes into these documents. But now we're really looking to streamline these other sorts of document generations that you can do post-meeting and post-file notes that take up a lot of time. So the document generation feature has been in beta for a while, and we've been testing it out and we've got a lot of great feedback, and we really appreciate that. So we started off with just a paraplanner request, and now we've introduced the concept of document templates, very similar to file note templates. So that's what we'll be spending, I'll be spending a bit of time on right now, just taking you through how these document templates work, and then touching on the actual document generation in a little bit. But as you'll see here in Claris, on the left-hand side, we've got the overall templates, and now that's split into meetings and documents. And if you click on that documents section, you've got your document templates here. And it might be a bit blank if you haven't used this yet, but if we click onto Browse Library, we've got a bunch of kind of starting templates or official Claris templates. So it'll look something like this, and we've just put some really common and popular documents in there. So paraplanner request, letter of engagement, fact find. Hopefully this should give you an idea on what these kind of documents are. And you can come into here and browse and have a look at what these documents include and the different sections. Go through all these, and then all you need to do is just click Use Template there. We'll use the paraplanner request as an example. And what that will do is it'll copy it out into your own practice. So you can see here that I've got paraplanner request, and there's a little badge there saying that this is only available to your practice and the rest of your team, so it's private. If we click into here, we can see we've got the editor, very similar again to the file notes. We've got the template name, a bit of a description, and then guidance. And then you come down here and you've got sections. So the documents, because they're a bit bigger than file notes usually, we've decided to break them into sections. And each section has a heading and then a outline similar to the file notes, where you can go through and specify what you want Claras to include, and then you can just use the square brackets there to add special instructions or formatting guidelines and stuff like that. But this is all now free to edit. Obviously, it's a great starting point, but you might want to change it to your specific paraplanner request that you use. And then probably the big improvements over the file note templates, which we're hoping to go back and improve the file notes and the meeting templates a bit later, but we've got some good improvements. So, for example, if we click into this fact find template, we can see here there's a version history option. So if we click on that, we can see all the changes that have been made to this template over time. So, and these summaries here are generated by Claras, so you don't need to create this yourself. You can just go in, edit the template, save the changes, and then you've got your complete version history over time, and this summary here explaining what you changed. So you can see here we added a few sections to the risk profile, and we made another section conditional. And you can just go through and explore the template as they were in the previous sections, and restore the template at any point as well if you want. So this should hopefully make it a lot easier to iterate and really fine-tune your templates. So you don't need to be afraid of making changes and experimenting and seeing how the output comes out. And then if you don't like it, you can very easily just revert back to a previous version and go from there. And of course, if you're a bigger team, it helps to who's changing templates, and you can see full observability of that.
Hey, Connor, just got a question here on the chat. What's the best way to reduce repetition? Is that a template change?
Yeah, I'd say so. I know I've heard it a few times with the file notes that there is some repetition, but at the end of the day, it all comes out of this template. It's all based out of these templates. So if there's something in here that is mentioned twice, then Claras will probably mention it twice. With the file notes, we've got the refine file note template tool. So you could just tell Claras that there's repetition in certain areas, and that would hopefully adjust the template to suit. But yeah, it is probably a case of coming in here, figuring out where the repetition is, in what section, or what instructions might be repeated, and then removing that or changing it.
Another tip on that front is to be more specific in your in the brackets that you put in the template. So if it says provide a detailed summary of yada yada yada, make that provide a concise summary as well. So that might help just kind of minimize the copy or the the output there.
Yeah. And then another cool thing about the document templates is that if you've copied them from the library here and it's the official template, even though it is your own copy and you're free to change it, if those official templates ever get updated in the future, whether there's improvements or compliance changes that need to be applied to these templates, we can do so in the background, and then you'll get something that looks like this on your templates, and also a number in the menu item there. And it just says that the base template that you copied this one from has had some improvements and changes, and then you can just very easily click that to review those improvements. So you get a nice summary here of what was changed from the base template, and you have the option there to either skip this update, you don't want to apply it, that's fine, and then you can just get future updates, or you can go apply updates. And what that will do is Claras will intelligently look at both your template and the new template and the changes, and also any changes that you might have made to your template, and it'll try and merge them together. So it won't be overriding any changes that you've made. It'll bring them all together. So then you can just go apply updates, and then that will happen in the background. It might take a minute or so. And then again, with the version history, this is another good thing. You can see the changes, and if you don't like them, very easy to restore back to what you had previously. Now, those are the base templates here, but there might be something that you don't see, or you might want to create yourself. And that's, again, very easy. Just in the bottom corner here, you go create my own. And then all you need to do is describe the type of document that you're hoping to create. If you do have an existing document, whether it's a Word doc or a PDF, you can just paste that in the second input there. It doesn't really matter about formatting. Claras should work that out. But as an example, let's create a implementation guide. So this document might be something that you use internally once you've generated the SOA, and you want to hand it over to another team member and just cut through all the fluff of an SOA and go, here's the actual step-by-step guide or step-by-step instructions that we need to do to implement this strategy or these recommendations. So Claras will have a look at that. And again, you can provide as much or as little detail as you want. You could just say implementation strategy and see what you get. And of course, we get a nice poem here while we wait. But this should take less than a minute to generate. We got any questions?
No, but fire away if you do. A couple of other use cases for this, if you wanted to create anything kind of advice related, but also think about it from an external facing point of view. So if you've got a client case study and you'd like to generate that from the knowledge, the file notes, any other documents that you give to Claras on your clients, you could create a client case study, and then it'll pull that information out of your client profile. So just think about ways that you could, or documents that you create, and ways you could use Claras to create those outputs. Think of it as documents, but also just outputs based on the client information. So yeah, get creative with it.
Yeah. So you can see, in under a minute, we've got our starting template. It's always better to start with something there rather than a blank slate. And we can go through, have a look at this and review it. One thing I do want to just mention is the conditional sections. So you can see there's a checkbox down the bottom there. And what that means is sometimes certain sections might not be relevant to the client or the scope of advice or whatever document you're generating. And so rather than, as an example, a record of advice, rather than creating one for a normal record of advice and one for a hold ROA, you could just have one single ROA template and then have conditional sections depending on whether there is strategic recommendations or new recommendations or new products. And then you could also have another conditional section on whether it's just keeping with the current strategy and there's no changes to be made. So yeah, we can review our sections, add additional ones in there if we want, or remove and reorder. That's all there. And then in terms of actually using these templates, so I'll touch on a few additions since we first released the beta. One really worthwhile one is the practice profile. So I've just gone under settings and then the general settings here. And you can see there's a section here to add top level details about your practice that might be useful. So we've got a rough outline here and there's some guidance on what you might want to include there. But some common examples would be, your business details, AFSL license, your pricing and fee structure, what you typically do there. And then Claras can reference this whenever it's creating a document or a file note. And so that's worth putting in there to save having to repeat yourself. But if we come into clients now.
Just a question before you jump into clients, Connor. Andrew is asking about how Claras would know what forms to go and fill out. So if there's a particular form on a provider's website or outside of Claras, how does it know what forms to complete to tick off on those recommendations? My initial reaction to that is it may not know the exact form, but that'll be a step in your implementation handover or admin checklist. So any other advice on that one, Connor?
Yeah, I think at the moment we can't fill out the exact form. Claras can't do that just yet, but maybe you could grab those common forms, copy them, create them as a document template, and then generate them inside Claras. And then at least you have, a starting point. And then you can copy the content there out into the actual PDF form. So I know it's not ideal to do all the copy paste and the double handling, but yeah, it's something that we'd probably consider in the future in being able to automate the actual form filling.
And great comment from Justin. Thanks, Justin. Good example of using the document creator to do something sort of slightly left field, I guess. But it's about getting the content out that you can reuse or repurpose in other areas. So thanks for that suggestion. Any others, please post them in the chat.
Cool. So in terms of generating these documents, we've got a example client here. The difference between documents and file notes and meetings is that documents can reference more than just the meeting. So they can reference any file note that you've previously had in Claras, any previous documents that you've generated, and then also another recent addition is attachments. So you can upload additional documents that might not already be in Claras. So in this case, we might want to upload an email, super statement, and financial forecast. So just upload those. And Claras can, or you can upload PDFs, Word docs, Excel, spreadsheets, emails, images as well. Claras is able to analyze the images. And what it'll do is go and create a name for that document and try and extract the date that document was created. So This is very handy if you have you want to backfill clients into Claras. You can come into here, create the client, put in their previous SOA and maybe some previous file notes, and Claras will look at that and figure out that that SOA might have been from a year ago and mark the date as there. So those are processing away. And then over on the right here with the documents, just click that and you can see we've got our document templates that we've copied out. So I'll click paraplanner request, and then we're into the document generation page. Some other nice little additions is that you can now just hover over this name here and rename it. And we also have dictation for the instructions here. So just as a general overview, if you haven't used the document generator yet, you can see here we've got the reference material on the left, and these are all the previous meetings and attachments that I mentioned. And you can go through and select what might be relevant to this document and deselect it if it's not necessary to include. On the right here, we have all those sections that make up the document. So you can see all the sections here, and as I mentioned, we've got those conditional sections. So in this case, if product replacement isn't necessary for this request, we can just click that and it will remove it and won't include it in the document. You can easily restore it as well if you need. And then anything that isn't included in the file note templates or other attachments and reference material. So these might be your actual recommendations and your actual strategies that you want to implement that weren't discussed. That's what the instructions are for. And with the dictation, we can just click that. Invest the 400K insurance payout. He wants a 60-40 growth defense split and keep about 30% in direct Aussie shares. Model retirement at 55 part-time and full-time retirement at 60. Needs 80K annual income. So, that should be pretty easy, as if you were just handing over in a meeting. And then we can go start generating sections. So that will then go through, it'll reference those instructions, it'll reference all the other material that you selected and create it, the document section by section. See here it's thinking.
Just to hook this back into the practice profile kind of that you showed us a while ago, that content on the right-hand side is pulling in the information from the practice profile as well as the reference material that you've got. So yeah, that's where if it says, it says AFSL name there, if you had licensee name or AFSL number, for example, it'd use that in those fields there.
Yep. So this will go through. It'll keep going through automatically. You can stop it at any point. And the good thing is that it references the previous sections as it goes as well. So if you come up here, you might say, oh, paraplanning firm, we need to change that. So we'll use example paraplanning firm. And then we can regenerate just that one section if we need to, and it should pop those details in there.
While Claras is doing its thing there, a couple of really good questions. One from Daniel: to get an accurate fact find, would it be best practice to upload the client financial statements, or is it pulling the data from the meeting recording? So The answer there, Daniel, is yeah, it'll pull in whatever context you give it, which is those attachments that we showed you before. It's like if there's more accurate and recent information than is contained in the meeting recordings in your file notes, then upload that and it will give Claris better context, more accurate context and information to then populate whatever document it is that you're creating. So yeah, that's a good idea to upload any of those attachments. Another one here, are all documents redacted of personal information the same way the file notes are? Yes. That runs through the privacy layer, and any client PII is stripped out before it gets processed by AI.
Yep. As well as those attachments that I uploaded, those will be redacted as well. So then, yeah, once you've got your document, very simple to just download that, and you've got your docx. At the moment, I think we see the document generator as almost the drafting stage, helping you get the core content there. There's not currently an editor like the file note or being able to really polish it. It's not something that you could just send off to a client, for example. So you might want to then massage that into your own templates and own header and whatnot. It is something that we are looking at and want to do in the future as well, though, so that eventually you can do everything inside Claris.
Question on the length of the paraplanner request, and if it's too long, Mark, then that's where you can edit your template. So if you go to your document template, click into your paraplanner request template, you can then remove sections or be very explicit about which sections you'd like to have less detail rather than more. And that's where you can use language like, provide 3 dot points or a short summary of, and just get very specific about which sections you'd like to minimize or be more concise. So yeah, that's the work that you do in the template. And as you run another output or generate another document, you can then go back and refine it and continue to iterate based on the output.
Yeah. And then another small little addition has been the finalize status for documents. So you have the draft status and then a finalized status. So once you're done, click on that. That locks the document off, so you can't then edit it again unless you explicitly revert it back to draft. And then that will go and update Clarity Plus with the new document. And if you were to create a document in the future, you now have that document available to reference as well.
We used a bit of Claris branding there, Clarity Plus. Does just yell out in the chat if you want us to just sort of duck across into Clarity Plus and explain that, because that's a really powerful way that you can use the info and the intel in Claris for meeting preparation. So if you want us to touch on that, just yell out in the chat.
Yeah, but that Clarity Plus is right here against the client, and it's just been updated. And then one last thing is, as you go and test these out, and you might be creating a few documents, we've got the option there to delete them. And then that will completely remove them from our database, no record of them, just like the file notes. And yeah, you can keep that nice and tidy as you're testing things out. But yeah, that's kind of document templates in a nutshell. There's a lot of great improvements there, especially around the versioning and the automatic updates and that library. And we're hoping to bring that into the meeting templates as well eventually, and bring it all up to speed. So yeah, exciting times ahead.
Thanks, Connor. A couple of questions on Clarity Plus. Can you just touch on that in terms of meeting prep? Jump in. So it's at the top of your client profile, and you can access it there. It's really good for onboarding new advisors for example, where you can invite them into Claris. They can come in here and scan through Clarity Plus for each of your clients and very quickly get their heads around your client's financial situation, some personal information, what you covered in your last meeting, really useful facts that help not just onboard advisors and other team members, but also help you prepare for meetings better. So all that information there gets refreshed every time you generate a new file note, finalize a document, or upload another attachment. And it's continually refreshing, so you have the latest information. Rob's asked a question: if it has some incorrect information, how can you tell it what's wrong? Great question. Have you got any thoughts on that, Connor?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think eventually what we want to do is have the ability to edit Clarity Plus yourself as well. It is at a point where we can do that. So every time you finalize a meeting or a document, it'll go and add additions or remove sections that are no longer relevant. But yeah, it should be in a position now where we can just let you go and edit that yourself. And also eventually have your own Clarity Plus templates. So if there's specific things that you want to see in Clarity Plus or remove, that could be something that we have templates for as well. But yeah, at the moment, not exactly. There's not an exact way to do it. Maybe upload an attachment with the right information, and then Claris should have that and override whatever's potentially incorrect. But then, yeah, in terms of the using Clarity Plus, it's obviously here for your client. But then if you have a draft meeting in the future, so we schedule a meeting, it's the advice presentation meeting, we can see here we've got Clarity Plus all there, ready to go, along with the meeting agenda. So this is a great page to just have a cohesive view of everything going on with the client and relevant to that meeting.
Awesome. Thanks, Connor. I think we've tackled all the questions there. So if you have any other questions around Clarity Plus and how to use that for better meeting prep, then reach out to the team via the in-app help chat. So some really good suggestions there from everyone, including the idea of sort of best practice forum of some kind, some sort of community, which I think will be super useful. So if you've got any specific ideas on that or want to help put it together, I'd love to hear from you, and maybe we can do some brainstorming around the best way to bring that alive.
Yeah, and we'll touch on it in a second with our roadmap, but one thing that we're considering is making that template library available for the community as well. So if you find you land on a really great document template, or you find a really awesome use case for the feature, or your meeting templates, like, you can publish that to the community for everyone to benefit from and use. So a similar sort of thing, everyone helping each other out.
In terms of printing meeting agendas, Susan, you can hit Control P or whatever the Apple version is for on your meeting preparation screen, and it will give you a kind of a printout of the agenda of sorts. We haven't built it to be sort of super print friendly, but yeah, potentially it's kind of printing your screen and printing it out. But yeah, that's an interesting suggestion in terms of print ready kind of formatting. So we'll make a note of that.
Could you almost like create
Mark's got an interesting question. Where do you see the SOA functionality going? Our sort of philosophy on that one is that we've given you a sort of a draft template there to use if you would like to. A lot of practices don't, for obvious reasons, but it's there if you'd like to explore it. It's essentially collecting a whole bunch of information and intelligence that come from the conversations you have with clients, and it may give you 50% or 80% of the content needed to populate your SOAs. So we're not suggesting it's it's going to include the strategies that you would normally put in there or make any claims to that. It's your document, or the base of a document to you then take forward and work up into your SOAs with your recommendations and strategies on there. So yeah, our view is that it's giving you a lot of useful information that you would normally collect manually anyway, or another way. So use the power of that to introduce some efficiencies in your team.
Yeah, it's definitely a draft feature. We definitely recommend verifying all the outputs and double checking, and that's your expertise and making sure that's all right. We're not going to generate the strategies for you, especially we know that most practices have their certain set of strategies that they typically go back to. It's just a case of applying that to the client.
Justin's looking for some tips here on creating custom docs to review or summarize information. So it sounds like Justin's kind of using it for some more custom use cases where you've got some different inputs like wheels and POAs. Sometimes it picks up details, sometimes not. I presume they're scanned PDFs, Justin. So yeah, Connor, any tips on getting Claras to be more specific or accurate from that information that Justin's uploaded?
So even if it is a scanned PDF, should be able to pick up the text.
It did, yeah.
I'll just share my screen again quickly. So if you go into your client and you've uploaded your attachment, you can click on this and see the text that Claras has extracted. And so it's definitely worth double checking there, making sure that it has actually got the text available. But then if it is a case of not picking up the right information from those attachments, when you're in the document generation, I would just put a little note here, potentially say, make sure to refer to such and such in this specific document. And then that should just hopefully guides Claras's attention to that document and to that section, so it knows where to look, just giving it a helping hand on where to get that information from. That would be my tip if it's struggling with picking up the right things.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it sounds like it could have been a scan issue, Justin, or perhaps, yeah, for some reason, Claras didn't read that read the text from those documents until the second time. So, yeah, interesting. We might dig into that one and have a look. So we've got a few more questions here. Are you building Claras to essentially be a CRM? Good question. We're going to run through some roadmap items that will answer some of that. The short answer is going to depend what you define as a CRM, which isn't avoiding the question, but yeah, we'll touch on what's coming up soon. Andrew, why couldn't it be more polished? I presume you're talking about the SOA.
It's a good question. I think, like I mentioned, eventually we do want to have the ability to edit inside Claras and have your practice header and branding and fonts and stuff like that. So it could definitely get to the point where it is polished and you could just download it and send it off. I think what we're saying is that you'll still need to double check it and make sure that it is does actually have the right information in there. In terms of styling and stuff like that, we're definitely working towards that. But yeah, the actual core content, Claras isn't going to just replace your expertise and your job there. Yeah.
Probably couldn't hear that. I'm just going to, now that we've covered off on documents, we're going to jump into some other updates that make the experience and the insights better. One of those is analytics. You may have seen this tab here, particularly relevant if you've got a bigger team. What we're starting to do here is just uncovering some insights around how your team uses Claris and what that ratio of file notes to meetings looks like. Ideally, it should be 1-to-1. We appreciate that there's going to be draft meetings that perhaps don't go ahead, but ideally you want to be creating file notes from every meeting and on the back of that document. So this gives you some insights to think about usage, who might need support. Clearly Connor isn't producing much. He needs a bit of training, bit of education here to kind of ramp him up. But Michael's doing pretty well. It helps you kind of understand how your team's using Claris and what they're doing. We've got some plans to build this out. The other big sort of quality of life or quality of output update that we've had is around the meeting recordings. And here's a bit of a pro tip in terms of getting the best file note output. The best results come from Claris transcribing a recording of a meeting. So whether that's recording directly into Claris or it's uploading Teams recording or an audio file of that meeting, that's where you get the best quality. So here we've got, this is from an audio file that I uploaded against this meeting. So this is the actual recording of the meeting that then Claris transcribes. And you can see here it's done a really good job at transcribing and speaker separation. So having that speaker separation means that you just get a better file note because Claris knows who said what, and therefore you get less confusion between the client saying something versus you. And you're free to come in here. You can search through it. So if you're looking for that reference to super or whatever it might be, then you can search through it. You can even play it back. So you can play back the recording down the bottom, and you can copy that out if you need to copy out the transcript. So that's just a really good way to get good quality, and is a great help to getting neat, accurate file notes from it. Just looking at our questions here. Is there a way Claris can pick up our calendars to create these meetings? There's a few questions around that. We're going to be expanding on that in a bit because that's on our roadmap and is coming next. Been having trouble with Claris cutting off the recording 5 minutes or so into a meeting. So yeah, Liz, we can perhaps just have a quick call about that. Might be something on your side in terms of browser settings. But we're always looking for ways to improve that, and have got some ideas around how we can improve that. Daniel, I haven't tried it. Yes, you can just upload the video file. So if you're not aware of our Teams integration, then jump into your profile down the bottom left here, and Daniel, this should resolve that, I think, if I understand your question correctly. Come down here, and in your profile page, connect to Microsoft Teams, choose your Microsoft account. Okay. All right. So Daniel's IT guys won't let him connect it. Fair enough. So that'll have to be an upload. But if you can upload the video, then you get a good result because you're not having to edit that up, before uploading.
Yeah. The short answer is yes. You can just upload your video and we'll extract the audio from that for you.
Yeah, thanks for cutting to the chase on that, Connor. That's good. The other improvement we just want to highlight is the Claris app, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but if you do have, for example, a meeting with a client and all you've got is your phone, record the meeting on your phone, and then you can upload it into the app into Claris via the Claris app. It's a new release. It's only been out a couple of days, but when you're in your meeting, and you hit on upload recording, you'll now see another tab here where you can upload from your app directly into the meeting, and the recording will then appear. So this QR code you scan in the app, and we've got a YouTube video that shows it off over here. So I'm just going to play this quickly so you can see how it works. You go to the App Store, you install it, you record using a third-party voice recorder like Voice Memo on iPhone, as you can see on the screen here. And then once you've finished the meeting, you jump across into the Claras app after sharing it, and then scan that QR code to upload it. Once you've done it, it'll make a lot of sense, but it's very easy to get your recording straight across into that meeting and start the file note generation process.
And just on that, there's a question about what the most accurate way to record is. Anything with a raw audio file or video file will give the best results at the moment. So if that's a Teams meeting through the integration or manually uploaded, or something through the Claras app and the voice memos, that's going to give the best transcript and transcription results, which will then have a flow-on effect to give you the best file notes. And with the few issues with the live recording in Claras, if it's cutting off, yeah, sometimes that can be browser settings. Sometimes it can also be an issue with that connection to the live service, because it does need to maintain a connection, and sometimes it can be a bit unstable, or IT security settings can prevent that. So if you're having issues there, I definitely recommend using the app. Even if you have your computer available, just record it on the Voice Memos app, and then upload to Claras that way, because Voice Memos is very reliable. It's almost impossible to accidentally stop and lose the recording there. So yeah, if you're having a few issues there, then I definitely recommend checking out that app. But yeah, we are looking into that and making sure we can make the live recording inside Claras rock solid and reliable.